Welcome to a Saturday edition, Saturday, July 19th, 2025. I had planned on doing one of these tomorrow because I don't have it scheduled yet, but I plan to call the gentleman who I have communicated to a few times about lighting and shooting the film. And I wanted to talk to him just kind of about the project and get to know him, blah, 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 which I will report in after I have had that meeting with him tomorrow. But in the meantime, I just talked to one of my acting and co producing, at this point, co writing sons, which reminds me I need to get someone's opinion. So, right now, the three of us are going through the script. We've gone through 30 pages so far, and they haven't really, maybe suggested dialogue incidentally, which I don't know if I'm going to end up using that exact line, but I'm just wondering what sort of credit someone like that would get. It wouldn't really be a writing credit, I don't think. They're probably going to be like co producers or something. But in terms of, script consulting, script, I'm not sure how that works because one thing I was thinking about is that just hypothetically, which I don't think I'll do, but I might, if I said written by 1, 2, and 3, or screenplay by, or whatever, then if they had that on their resumes or someone saw it and they say, "Oh, wow, you're a writer and an actor. What else have you written?" Obviously, the answer would be nothing. Or, if that's how they want to be known, and I'm not sure the answer to that. So I need to talk to them, but I also need to get some advice from my friends, probably on Facebook or somewhere else. I could ask Grok or ChatGPT. Anyways, I just talked, I think before I went on that tangent, I just talked to Brett, sort of a weekly check-in, see what he's doing, see what I'm doing. He's got a chemistry read for a low-budget feature, which is super exciting, which if he filmed it, it would happen before this, and that would be cool. But in the course of our conversation, because I had told he and Reese about this guy and that, of course, we've got to pay him and blah, 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 blah. And so he was asking about the lights we have, not exactly, but, about how much stuff we have. And he brought up the idea, which I was surprised in a pleasant way, that what if we did this all ourselves and didn't have this paid person? And I had kind of thought about that, depending on how many other people we get to work on it, knowing that they'll be relatively unskilled. I have been communicating with a couple of them, and the plan is to sort of have a mini crash course for those who don't know hardly anything about either lighting or sound or whatever. And so the reason I wanted to make this is to kind of talk that through a little. And as I told him, the major downside would be the possibility that we couldn't shoot this thing as quickly as we had hoped because we really have 11 days, maybe 12 days. I don't know that I don't think we want to shoot it without taking a break of at least a day here, maybe a day there, which would mean 11 days. Like I said, we could shoot for like 13 days, but I think that would just be too much. And if we do have this person, whoever it ends up being, who is conversant on everything and is a real pro and can set things up fast, then we benefit by virtually assuring ourselves that we will get done in the allotted time, especially if I get tickets. Not that I couldn't change the return tickets, but I don't know that they could really afford to stay here too much longer and miss work. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, having someone who is, lit and shot, he says he lights and he can shoot, but he's more of a, I don't even know what someone who just lights is really called. He's not just a grip or a gaffer, but anyways, in addition to speeding up the shoot, could he make it look, as I said to Brett, 10 or 15% better, more cinematic, whatever that means, more realistic lighting. So in the course of a conversation, Brett said, and I pretty much knew this, but hadn't really thought about it, that, well, I know the basics of lighting and I've been on shoots and helped set things up. He's never directed how the lights are or whatever. And in my day job, I light a lot of things, but it's all very basic. It's mostly interviews. And certainly I've been around on my 3 previous features and I've shot a little bit when no one else was there, and I've lit a little bit all by myself, with help, but saying, here's where we want the lights. So it really got me to thinking. And so part B or part C of this is, if we did it ourselves and if it took a couple more days and if we're saving a few $1,000s, then I would gladly pay at least Reese and Brett. I don't know about everyone, certainly couldn't afford to pay everyone, but maybe for, spending an extra day or two could pay them something, certainly not what they're worth. Not that I'm paying, well, I hate to use the phrase, pay you what you're worth, because if that was the case, I couldn't afford to pay myself to make it. So I don't know. It just opened up a train of thought. So when I am talking to this gentleman tomorrow, I will keep that in the back of my mind, and don't think that I would necessarily share this with a lot of people other than YouTube. So maybe I won't release this until after I've talked with him. And then after I talk to him, Reese and Brett and I are meeting again on Zoom to talk about the script and keep going through it. Speaking of which, another tangent, I did go over the first 10. No, I went over the first 30 pages this morning, revisited some of the changes I've made a few more, kind of not really condensed the opening, but changing the dynamics of it. And after talking to Brett today, even changing it some more. And I'm not going to go in deep with that, because someday I'll make a special script only edition of this where I could take a deep, deep dive. And I think I've talked about doing that, but I haven't yet. So I apologize if you keep waiting for that and it hasn't happened. Anyways, now I'm going to get back to, I've been doing some experiments with the camera this morning. And like I said, I'm not a super tech guy, a super, genius in any of that stuff. So I'm trying to do the sort of broad learning without being super deep. This is deep. This is broad. But I'm using some different quality settings on this camera because it's got several different options. And the files are just enormous. It's just crazy. And then the other thing that I'm doing is doing some more color grading things. There's just so much stuff to do. And then he goes, oh, you should really watch this movie. So we shall see about that. But this has been kind of an extended surprise version of the vlog. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed all of them and continue to. Tell someone who is into this sort of thing to check one of these out and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I'll double my followers on YouTube from 3 to 6. I haven't checked lately, but I don't think it's too much more than that. Anyways, the standard outro. Go make a movie, then let's talk about it together. Until then, see you next time.